recognized.
Thank you, thank you. St. Louis and I are here today in support of genuine community safety and in opposition to hollow, hypocritical attempts to distract from policies that make our communities less safe. That's exactly what this resolution is. It's an empty and desperate ploy by Republicans to avoid responsibility for policies they support that are getting people killed in St. Louis and across this country. So let's set the record straight on a few things. First off, the party of insurrection has zero credibility. Zero credibility when it comes to protecting law enforcement officers. It was a Republican president who incited the January 6th insurrection and coup attempt because he refused to accept that he lost the 2020 election. It was Republican politicians who enabled January 6th by peddling lies about the election. And it was a mob who supported these Republicans that stormed the Capitol and violently assaulted law enforcement officers. If Republicans cared about violence against law enforcement, they would be marking up a resolution condemning themselves. But the fact is that Republicans don't care about violence against law enforcement, and they really don't care about law enforcement at all. They will support any number of abuses that law enforcement inflicts on communities like St. Louis. But as soon as a law enforcement agency takes a single step towards holding them and their cult leader, Donald Trump, responsible for their criminal behavior, that agency becomes public enemy number one. So Republicans don't care about law enforcement. They support mass incarceration for Black and brown communities and freedom from accountability for themselves. And it is sickening to hear Republican politicians talk about public safety while they contribute to the crisis of violence in this country. As I have pointed out many times in this committee, the states with the weakest gun laws, like my own in Missouri, have Republican legislatures and governors and the highest rates of gun violence in our country. Republicans also take every opportunity they get to spread fear and distrust in our communities. These moral and policy failures have resulted in firearms flooding municipalities that are unable to override those state-level policies, and an American public that is on a hair trigger and primed for violence. So let's get it straight. Republicans are the arsonists, not the firefighters. They don't get to enable violent insurrection and rampant gun violence and police brutality and then show up and pretend like we should just listen to anything they say about policing and public safety. It is a farce, and it's a distraction from policies that would actually save lives. Those policies do not invest in violence. They invest in communities. They recognize that we will never incarcerate ourselves to safety. They will support non-police first responders, mental health and counseling resources, community-based employment programs, community violence prevention and interruption programs, after-school programs, substance use treatment programs, public health and other wraparound services, affordable food and housing, more parks and green spaces, and re-entry programs. That's just to name a few. So that's exactly why I introduced the People's Response Act, which would establish a division of community safety within the Department of Health and Human Services to research and fund evidence-based strategies that are proven to prevent violence and effectively manage crisis situations. So unlike these Fox News talking points, the PRA is a real proposal with real solutions that would save lives in St. Louis and nationwide. And it's not only this proposal. There are proposals that adopt a community-based approach to public safety. Many of my Democratic colleagues have introduced proposals that would break the cycle of violence, invest in mental health resources, support counselors, not criminalization, ensure housing for all, and support other non-carceral interventions that would make a material difference in people's lives. But we're not here today to consider real solutions that will make people's lives better. We're here as a distraction from the sad truth that dangerous MAGA Republican policies make us less safe. They deprive us of basic investments that would move us closer to a genuine community safety. And at the end of the day, Republicans refuse to consider those investments because Republicans are not seeking solutions to the problem.
Gentlelady's time.
They are the problem. Thank you, and I yield back.